On May the 20th, 2019, I managed to win 4 PUBG solo chicken dinners from 10 games, 1 on each of the maps, and with a top 10 percentage of 80%. In this video, I'm going to teach you the strategies and tactics I use to do this so that you can adapt them to your playstyle and win more solo chicken dinners yourself. In the first part of the video, I'm going to show you the circle tactics I use to fly far from the flight path. I sometimes find a vehicle and then drive even further away, safely loot, and then make my way safely through the quiet sides of the circle with the aim of getting into the top 10. In the second part of the video, I'm going to show you the end game scenarios. I'll talk about the weapons I take into the end game and the tactics I use in those final circles to get that chicken dinner. The overall strategy I use in PUBG is to avoid the randomness of combat unless strictly necessary in the early and the mid game, and then I navigate through and to the quiet side of the circles with the goal of getting into the top 10, where my games of PUBG really start, which is in the end game. Let's start with Erangel, and as you can see, we've got a northwest to southeast flight path, so we're going to drop along the western coast road and then make our way to Primorsk. This is a classic D23 or drive to the third circle and play the edge. As you can see, we've got a motorbike, and as the first circle appears, it's sort of centrish to the map, so it's an interesting thing. What I'm thinking about at that point is the river. Do I have to go north or south of the river? Now, where I would plan to stop would be where the yellow marker is on the southwest corner of the circle, but what happens next is the circle straddles the river, so I want to go north of the river to a quiet part of the map because I don't want to get caught on the wrong side of the river, because in Erangel this could have a really important change. So we go over the bridge, and then as I'm making my way up to this part, the circle changes again, and yet again it straddles the river, so I decide to stop on the quiet side of the circle. There isn't much between myself and the northern coast, because I know I can plonk myself down here and kind of wait around for a little bit and see what happens next with the circle. Now the circle comes in again, and it's not completely obvious, but if you look very closely, this next circle has to be south of the river, and I'm in completely the wrong situation. So I make the decision to make the play to jump onto my motorbike and get back over to the river, because to get over the bridge on foot would be very, very difficult. Go into the waterlogged town, and this is where I stop, and then we see the next circle will appear, and now I will make my way to the edge of the river, but that's for the next part of the video. Right, so next we're going to look at Miramar, much bigger map, and in this particular case I decided to drop to my favourite 2 warehouses. Now these are particularly close to the flight path. Normally I would only come here if it's further away, but I decided to go there. Somebody else drops with me, and your immediate priority must always be, if you know where they are, kill the other person, because that will enable you to then loot in peace, because the whole idea of this sort of thing is to loot in peace. Now I move eastward at this point to move away from the flight path so I can again loot in peace. It's all about looting safely, so you're avoiding those gunfights in the early part of the game. Because I'm already in the circle, all I've really got to think about is staying on the quiet side, so now I head south. Again, there's a chance people will have moved around, they will have chased airdrops and that sort of thing, but as long as you've got your volume turned up, you'll be okay. Circle moves to my southwest, so again I'm moving to the edge of the circle, always moving to the edge of the circle, and now it moves towards Minas General, and this again is where not the final circles, but the smallest circle starts, and this is where again we're going to move to the edge of the quiet side of the circle, the furthest side from the flight path, and this is again where the game would start. Now we're on to Vikendi, going to fly far to the northeast. Vikendi at the moment anyway, you can really fly a long way, and the circles don't shift very much. When the circle appears, I'm well within the circle, and all I'm doing is moving slowly from east to west, staying on the edge of the circle. When the new patches hit the PTS over the next few days, we will get more hard shifts in Vikendi, but until then, basically what you want to be doing is just doing nice slow shifts back, across, play the edge of that circle, stay on the edge of the circle, wait for the next move, and then as you can see we're moving into the end game on this Vikendi map, and then we'll see what happens next. Okay, so now Sanhok, a fairly middling flight path, so we're going to jump northeast to my favourite place Mong Nai, and we're in the circle already, so the idea is just to slowly move southwest into the circle. I'm quite lucky in the fact that I managed to grab a supply crate right at the beginning of the game, which I think gives me the AUG assault rifle submachine gun thing, which is always good to have a great weapon, but it's even more important to have the level 3 helmet and level 3 vest, which give you really good protection. Now the circle is very kind to me, but as you can see, I'm staying on the edge and I'm staying on the quiet side of the circle. That's what's critical, remembering where the flight path was and then just moving to the quiet side of the circle that was furthest away from the flight path. Always just tickling the side of the circle. Move early enough so that you don't get caught in the blue, and just stay there and looking out. Now, while in the background you're watching the video of we're back to the sort of the Erangel match and we're back to the end game, I just want to kind of go over those circle tactics once again, and by all means restart the video and watch it. The whole ethos behind these strategies and tactics is to, when you're flying over and you're looking at the flight path, jump far from the plane, jump along a road normally to get a vehicle to drive further away so you can loot in safely. Alternatively, jump further away and then go somewhere, go to an unnamed place. Don't go to a town that's got a name on, go to an unnamed place and loot. If you take the vehicle, which I would always recommend, move further away, and then when the circle appears, look at the circle, remember where the flight path was and think, right, where's the quiet edge? Sometimes this might mean you've got to go all the way to the other side of the map because the circle might shift. Say the flight path was along the south coast, and then you jump north. Talk about on Erangel here, then the circle is then over the military base. You would then have to shift all the way to the military base, and you would go to the south coast of the military base because that would be the quietest place. Just think about what would be the quietest place away from named towns and the big cities, and then make your way there. And as a rule of thumb, stay in your vehicle if you can up until about the third vehicle, up until the third circle, and then make your way on foot. And then when you get to the final circles, as you're seeing here, it's all about looking at the lay of the land, listening out for your enemies, and moving from cover to cover, again safely, doing it that way. So that's circle tactics. What we're into now is the end games. Now, this particular chicken dinner on Erangel, there's nothing particularly special about it. The only special thing is that I actually survived this far, because throughout this game I was having terrible troubles with my controller, and I had to keep going into the settings and adjusting the dead zone because I kept having stick drift when my character would wander out. But as you'll remember from the early clip of Erangel, I decided to dump my vehicle because that was the only way that I could get safely out of the sunken town, right by the edge of the river, and I'm right behind this rock. Now I think there's someone to my left behind that other little rock, so I've thrown a smoke just to create a little bit of cover, a little bit of safety as I can then move into the safe area of the next circle. As it turns out, someone on the hill, who'll spot him in a second, starts firing at me. At this stage in the end game, it's all about information. Gathering as much information as you can from the enemies, i.e. looking for them, and importantly listening out for them, looking at that kill feed. At the moment we've only got 3 people left, but who's killing who? And then trying not to give your position away by taking pot shots at people. Only shoot at people if you know you really got a chance of killing them, because as soon as you fire, even if you've got a suppressed weapon, that will give your enemies an idea where they are. Now in this particular case, again, I'm very lucky, we're down to the last 2. There's that chap. Now I know he's got a powerful bolt action rifle, probably something like an AWM. I always put a dot in the center of the circle. That's not where I'm going to go, that's just so that I can orientate myself correctly, because if you look at the compass at the top, you'll see the little dot, and it means that if I get a little bit confused, I know if I need to run to be safe, I just head for that dot. What I'm doing instead is, that chap knew where I was, so I'm repositioning myself. I've got plenty of time. Ground into this little divot here, and then I'm coming into the circle behind this rock. This rock is going to give me cover, and I'm looking out, where is the other guy? You know he's going to be behind a tree. He's fired at me. That gives me a good idea where he might be, so I can keep looking out. Where is he? Right, I've seen him. He's not a particularly good shot, so I'm just running again to get into safe, get behind this rock here, and I can see him poking out. He's hard peeking, which is always a good sign, and that means that when he pops out to throw a grenade, I can blast him with the M16, and then, you know, we've got a chicken dinner. But hopefully that's kind of started to get you an idea of what we're trying to do in these final circles. Right, so we're back on Miramar now. We're just coming through Minus General again. We're into the end game. And on the bigger maps, like Miramar, the end game lasts considerably longer. Now, if you remember where we were on the quiet side of the circle. If you look at the mini-map in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that I'm to the east of the safe zone. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm working the edge. I'm going this direction because I can hear gunfire off to my right, and also there's lots of buildings off to my right. We've got 15 people still alive. In solos especially, people love to hide in buildings. Never go into buildings unless you really, really have to in the final circles if you're playing the edge like this. There are certain other tactics you can use where you do go into buildings a lot, but we're not going to talk about those in this video. So I'm just running this edge. Now, what I am looking out for is somebody else will have the same idea, and somebody else could well have come into a different part of the circle. But as you can see, in this part of the map, the blue will be moving very, very slowly when it starts to move because it hasn't got far to go. And I'm just looking at the edges of the whatever those pine tree things are, and the rocks, looking at the edge, because that's where you'll see people. And as I come over this rise, I see this chap. Now he is making the cardinal sin of looking towards where the gunfire is. He's looking directly into the circle and across the circle. That's always a bad thing to do. If you're in his situation where you've already got into your position where you're going to be, what you want to be doing is you want to be looking to your flanks, you want to be looking to the left and the right, and you want to be looking behind into the blue. You'd be amazed how many times badly damaged players will be coming out of the blue, sometimes in vehicles as well. Very rarely will someone be coming all the way across the circle in front of you. Sure, you've got to be aware that you're in cover and nobody can fire across the circle and take you out. But generally people will be coming from the flanks. So in this case, when I move into my position, again, as you can see if you look at the minimap in the bottom right hand corner, I'm on the edge of the circle. I'm just using a third person perspective to look around. I'm looking to the flanks. Where are people either rotating around the edges to kind of do what I wanted to do, or maybe they're being forced out of position, or I've just missed them, you know, they've been camping and they followed me. The next circle has appeared. Now at this point this vehicle appears. I have a suppressed SKS, so I'm going to give him a lot of grief. I know I'm not going to kill him at this point, but I don't want him coming over on my side of the circle. I don't want someone with a vehicle trundling around and spoiling my day. So if I can fire at him a lot of times, I can persuade him to stay over there. Just stay over there, mate, you know, because I know where that's all the gunfire is. But what I think's happening is that there's so much gunfire over there that he has to come over this way. This now puts me in a difficult situation. He plonks himself behind this rock, so I do what I have to do, is get behind here and I try and engage him. He's got a very good headshot, and he manages to ping me. I get him, but you know, bang! That's a nice headshot, that, my friend. So then I roll back behind the rock and let's throw some grenades. Then I'm not sure how accurate these are. I might get some damage into him, and I know for some reason, see, he's not in the safe zone at the moment, and he's probably thinking, oh, here comes another grenade in a second, so he decides to move to the left, see, to avoid the grenade, and he thinks, right, I've had enough of this, and he gets back into his vehicle. My other weapon is the barrel, a 7.62 weapon, and all the 7.62 weapons are really good at blowing up vehicles. At this point, because I've used all my grenades, I think, right, let's go and get his grenades. So I get a smoke out to smoke the crate, but the blue's coming in, so it's not worth it. So I move back to my previous position. I start taking fire from my left. Again, this is why it's very important to have loud headphones so that you can tell where things are coming from. And I see this chap running in. Again, I've got a suppressed SKS, so I feel free to take pot shots at this guy. I know I said in the previous video you shouldn't do that, but there's only 5 people left alive, so let's see if we can take him out. Then I see this truck, and unfortunately the guy hasn't put the handbrake on, and it's rolling back into the blue, and I can see the guy hiding by it, so let's give him some grief. We're now down into the next, the final 4. If you check the mini-map in the bottom right hand corner, you now see that I am out of position. The circle has moved to where they're all firing, so I use the opportunity of those guys shooting each other, so they'll all be distracted, they'll all be looking at each other, they'll all be looking where the gunfire is. Hopefully they won't be looking in this direction, to run over to this rock. So I've got cover. I am not in, and I've just seen a little head pop up there. And in fact, in a second, some grenades come over. So now I'm thinking, which way do I go? Do I go right, or do I go left? I'm a little bit undecided. There is more cover over to in the circle to the left, because we've got those pine trees and then we've got the buildings, but that is generally where people are going to be. I'm fully boosted. In the final circles you want to stay at full boost as much as you can, so you can get to full health. And also, if you are fully boosted, it means that you'll be healing automatic, so if you take damage you're going to be healing. So I'm looking around, where am I going to go? We've still got 15 seconds to go. At this point I think, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left, and I'm going to head for that ridge. Let's throw a smoke first to create a little bit of a distraction and even a little bit of cover, and then we're going to run like mad. Smoke goes out, wait for it to pop, and let's go. So I can see that little ridge now, something, right, that's where I want to be. I want to be by that ridge, because if I can tuck in behind there. Right, let's throw a Molotov, because I know there's people up there. Someone throws a grenade over towards me, explodes down the hill. I'm safe. Let's tuck right in here. Let's use third person perspective just to peek this edge. See if we can see anybody. I'm not going to expose myself. Listening out, where are they? Gathering information while not giving away information about myself. Creeping, making sure you... Right, there's the other guy. Let's take him out with the barrel, no problemo. The other guy comes to investigate. Here he comes. He pops his head round in a second. Just put my marker in to see what happens. He's looking in the right direction, looks in the wrong direction. Pop up, finish him off. Chicken dinner winner. There we go. So again, chicken dinner or Miramar, and hopefully you can see how we're just using the edge of the circle to come in safely, using cover to take our way in to get that win. Right, so now we're on Vikendi. As you can see, I'm right on the edge of the circle. Here comes the blue. I've got to move in a little bit. This is a bit tricky because I went from a nice position to one with no cover, so I'm making this mad dash around the side of the circle, around the blue, hoping that everybody else, they're going to keep themselves busy by shooting each other, and I'm very lucky. The next circle is to my southwest, so as I'm kind of looking out towards everybody, third person peeking around the rock. There's 7 people left. Putting a marker in the centre of the circle so I can orientate myself safely, even if I become a little bit out of place. Guy runs across the road. A little bit inaccurate there with the suppress vector, but the beauty with the suppressor is he doesn't know which direction he's being shot at, or doesn't have a really good idea. Stops to heal, headshot with a barrel, he's dead. So now I'm thinking I've got to get across the frozen river. There may only be 6 people alive, but this is not easy. Time to get to full boost. Again, we get to full boost because it means we heal automatic. If we take damage, it means we can run faster. If we've got a level 3 helmet, if we get to full health, it means that we won't die instantly to a headshot. Unfortunately, I've only got a level 2, so if someone's got a Kar 98, an M24, an AWM, I would die instantly. So keep jiggling around, keep moving. I'm waiting to the last minute. Again, at the moment on Vikendi, the blue moves fairly slowly, and you don't get these hard shifts. So you can come in with the blue. As the game changes going forward, we'll have to see if they speed up the blue to the speed that we see on Sandhawk and Miramar. So again, I take fire, can hear fire sort of in front of me. So let's throw some smoke down, see if we can get some cover, create a little bit of a distraction. Running like mad now, jiggling and jaggling. I see the guy in front of me, in front of the rocks. He runs up and engages the person who was shooting at me. Watch the kill feed. Will he kill him? He backs off. I give him, and then he's dead. And the other guy killed him as well. Now, I'm just about in, but I see this chap. He's in a very odd place there. He's probably got people behind him. Let's throw a Molotov. Let's get him moving. Let's see where he goes. Goes up the hill. Nice medium range shot with the Vector. Now I'm in. Let's get myself hidden behind this rock here. that is my smoke to my left. There's 4 people left. I know there's someone up ahead of me, sort of probably around where that building is, because that's where the gunfire was coming from. That's why the other guy had to move, because he knew he had me behind him, the other guy in front. He was in a difficult situation. Circles moved away from me again. I know there's someone up there. To move out behind this rock, in front of this rock, go that way, would be suicide. I don't know if anybody's around this way, so again it's a case of listening out, gathering information, making as little noise as I can by walking crouched over and walking slowly, and using third person perspective to see where the other players might be. Every little bit of information that I can gather will help me towards winning that chicken dinner. There's only 3 other people on the map apart from me, so there's one person sort of up to my north. Where are the other 2? Where could they possibly be? Right, I see the other guy behind that tree. Let's get the barrel out. See if we can tickle him a little bit. Luckily for me, although we do damage him a bit, he then takes fire from someone else. 3 people left. Someone up to my north. There has to be someone there. Where's the other guys? Where's the other person? So I know there's someone up there. Where's the other person though? I have to start thinking about moving now, so let's move around the quiet side of the circle. I'm keeping an eye north. Where is that chap? When is he going to come running out? Still can't. Right, see the guy by the rock. Let's take our time. Let's see if we can damage him. Get plenty of shots into him. I have to move now. Now, I know he's damaged, so let's see if we can throw a Molotov at the rock. This Molotov is woefully short, but I've got the Vector, which is a fantastic weapon. The other guy starts firing at me, so I know where he is, and this guy is crouched behind this rock. Let's just take him out as quick as we can. And then I know I'm safe here. So I'm behind this big rock. Where's the other guy? Right, there he is. I see him in the grass. Let's throw a grenade at him. He has no cover. He has to move. Throw another grenade at him. Right, he's running. Let's see if we can get him. And then we get the chicken dinner on the candy. Hopefully getting the idea now how we're tickling the edge of that circle in solos. We're coming in, we're listening, we're gathering information, and then we're acting on that information. Now, the ultra observant among you will probably have noticed that last Vikendi chicken dinner and said, wait a minute, Rob, in that chicken dinner you got 4 kills. Yeah, in that screenshot right at the beginning of the video when you're talking about the 4 chicken dinner winners you got in the same day on the 4 maps on PUBG, you only got 3. That's true, because when I started making this video, the clip I put in for the Vikendi chicken dinner was actually the wrong one. It was one that I got a few hours later. So this is the actual one. So this is the 3 kill Vikendi chicken dinner. What I've done is I've done a hard shift and we've gone over to the coast and we've moved in. There's 5 people left alive. Again, if you look at the mini-map on the bottom right corner, you'll see I'm right on the edge of the circle. I'm not actually in the safe zone yet, but the beauty with Vikendi at the moment is that the blue moves incredibly slowly. And all I'm doing is I'm locking in the camera, or locking in my position by holding down the top right hand shoulder button on my controller, and I'm just spinning the camera around, looking around while not moving, so I'm not giving away my position with too much movement. I'm very worried about people flanking around on Vikendi, and whenever you're on the slow side of the circle, so that's the side of the circle where the safe zone is closest to the blue zone, so it will move very, very slowly. Players will rotate around. They love getting on this side of the circle because it means that if they get into gunfights, they've got enough time to respond. On the other parts of the circle, where the blue will move fast, especially on Sandhawk, especially on Erringel, especially on Miramar, if you get into a gunfight and you're not safe, you could, well, die. Just killed that guy. Now there's 3 people left alive. Now this is critical. You get in this position a lot. So I see that chap there. Try and take him out at long range with the Vector. He hides behind the rock, as you would expect. Is he going to expose himself? Almost, just waiting for him to take. Again, not trying to give away my position by just blasting away at him. So what you're doing in this situation when you're in the top 3 is... Ooh, gets me a good one then. What you're trying to do is you're hoping that the other players will engage each other, not only to maybe either kill each other and well, one will kill the other obviously and damage the other's armour, but more importantly to give away their position. Because once you know where somebody's position is and they don't know where you are, you can then reposition to get a flank on them, which basically means that you can shoot at them while they're not looking at you. So I'm behind this rock here, I'm not quite safe, and I see the other guy. suppressed M16. Not very accurate at this range. Well, I'm not very accurate at this range, but me and the other guy are both firing at him. Now, he's got a bolt-action rifle, probably an M24, I think, or an AWM. So I use the opportunity to get closer in. Now, he goes behind a tree, I go behind a tree. What you should be doing at this point is thinking about grenades. Him throwing them at you, you throwing at him at them. If you're close enough, Molotovs are the best, because you can throw a Molotov at a tree or a rock, it will explode, and the fire will then go around the tree or the rock. They will have to move. So he's throwing a Molotov at me. I back off, keeping the tree in between us, and then just slowly going to one side, peeking for a second, and then moving back. You don't want to hard peek for too long. Waiting for him to pop out. Let's peek to the other side. Try not to peek the same side 2 times in a row. Where has he gone? Can't see him. Right, let's think about... I've got to try I get a grenade out by mistake. Let's get a proper frag. I get a smoke. Let's throw one that way towards him. And then I shoot him. And there we go. A nice little Vikendi chicken dinner as well. Right, let's talk about weapons next. Which weapons you choose to take into the final circles in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a very personal choice, but my broad recommendations would be as follows. You want a close range to medium range weapon that you are comfortable with. So, guns that you can run on full automatic, that are fairly easy to control, and very forgiving, are guns like the M416 5.56 assault rifle. Stick an extended mag on it, stick a tactical stock on it, stick a red dot or a hollow on it, and if you can, a compensator or a suppressor, and you'll have a very nice weapon indeed that doesn't kick too much on full auto. Try and burst fire it so it doesn't jump all over the place, and it can engage people at close to medium range. The Scar, very very similar. Kicks a little bit more. If you're on Sandhawk, the QBZ is a ripper, another 5.56 at close range. On Vikendi, the G36 5.56, very very good. In general, for the assault rifles, the 5.56 weapons are easiest to control. Now, I'm not saying don't have a go with guns like the AK or the Beryl or the Mutant, but they do kick more. So of those, I would say the Beryl, with especially putting a vertical grip on it to control that recoil, is another great weapon. Don't forget the submachine guns. Now, at the moment in PUBG, the submachine guns are going through quite a lot of changes, but something like the Vector with an extended mag is pretty reliable. The new MP5K on Vikendi is looking promising, so you might want to look at that. In the early game, don't rule out the Uzi. In the early game, that can be very good. I probably wouldn't take it into the late game because you can't put a sight on it, but when you're running around in close quarters, it can be good. The jury is out on the UMP at the moment, because at the time of writing this video we're moving into the change where the UMP is changing to the UMP 45, and generally people aren't very happy with it, but it probably will be buffed at some point to make it better. I would say though, for my close to medium range weapon, I would be more than happy with something like an M416 or a Scar or a QBZ or a Beryl. I like those. And then if I'm feeling very confident, then the Vector can be very very good, but it's a little bit more specialist because it fires so fast, so you've got to make sure you're on target. Now, if you're medium to long range weapon, this is the weapon you're going to be putting a 4x scope on, a 6x scope or an 8x scope on. To start off with, again, you want something that's reasonably easy to control, and doesn't kick too much. You can't go far wrong with the M16 with a 4x or a 6x on it. Again, if you can put a silencer and a compensator and a great extended mag, we'd now be able to put tactical stocks on that as well. Very reliable gun, fires very very quickly, doesn't have much kick. The Mini 14 DMR is another 5.56 weapon, easy to control. You might want to try out the QBU on Sandhawk. I'm not a big fan, I'd rather use the M16, but results may vary, give it a go. If you fancy something with a little bit more power, then go for the 7 weapons. So we're talking about the SKS, we're talking about the SLR. Now, they deal more damage per shot, so you'll kill people quicker, but they have more recoil, so be prepared to handle that. I would also really recommend you in solos to try out the bolt action rifles, try out the Kar 98, try out the M24, and if you get one out of a crate, try out the AWM. And also, when you're in the training ground, it's very important to go to the training ground to try out all the different weapons to see how they feel and fire at other players. You want to try out the bolt action rifles because they give you the ability to one-shot people to the head as long as they're not wearing a level 3 helmet and are at full health. And in solos especially, you'll find lots of players who are just sitting behind rocks thinking they're nice and safe, and they don't move, and so you've got the time to line them up and take them out with a one-shot kill to the head. When you're playing in some of the other game modes like duos and squads, sometimes I think they're not quite as useful, because people are running around a lot more and the chance of landing those headshots is a lot less. But definitely in solos, try those weapons. So my ideal, if you could choose any loadout to go into a final circle, what would you choose? Well, in solos, there's two options I would probably give that I would really, really like. A Vector and a M16. With a 4x on, the Vector with a red dot or a hollow. Or the other one would be something like the M416 and the Kar 98. Actually, one gun I've completely forgotten about, which is one of my favourites, is the VSS. The VSS is it's a sniper rifle. It's a DMR actually that you want to put on automatic but fires subsonic 9mm ammunition very, very, very quietly. It comes with a built-in scope. You want to put an extended mag on it, but you want to put a cheek pad on it, and it is very, very effective. So really enjoy the VSS. So yeah, a really good loadout would be the VSS as your long-range weapon, then M416 or a barrel as your short-range weapon. Okay, so what you're seeing in the background as I've been talking about weapons are chicken dinners as we're going into chicken dinners. So by all means, turn the volume down if you don't want TV journey on, and just watch what I'm doing in these end games of these chicken dinners. Watch how I hug the edge of the circle. Watch how I'm looking at the flanks to make sure people aren't rotating into me, and kind of the tactics I'm using to stay alive, to gather information about where all the other players are, and then to act on that information. And what I might be doing is not doing something. I might just be taking note of it. Now, apart from weapons, the other things that are very important for the end games are throwables. So ideally, as you're going into the end game, if you can, you want to be carrying 2 smokes, 2 frag grenades and 2 molotovs. If you can take those, if you've got like a level 2 or a level 3 backpack, it depends if you're going to be using a 7.76 weapon or a 5.56 or a 9mm, because you might not be able to carry that many. They'll be very, very useful. Now, I don't tend to bother with stuns because I get stun grenades confused with smoke grenades, and I tend to stun myself. Alright, but frags are great for getting people behind cover. Molotovs are great for getting people from behind cover, and smokes are great for getting yourself out of sticky situations. Or what you can see here is, if you need to loot somebody in the late game, smoke the crate before you loot it, because then you can stop yourself from getting shot by somebody. You'll see somebody starts trying to shoot me through the smoke, and they might get a few lucky hits in, but they won't. They probably won't kill you, and it makes you safe. You also want to be taking, if you can, at least 3 first aid kits, 5 bandages, and I would say 3 energy drinks and 3 painkillers. If you can find a syringe, happy days. Level 2 stuff as a minimum, so level 2 helmet, level 2 vest, level 2 bag. If you can get level 3 stuff, on Vikendi it's on the ground. If you come across a supply crate which you can hit safely, in other ways you're on the safe side of the circle, a supply crate comes down so you can get to it without running into lots of people, then go for it. Yeah, that's about it really, because that gives you the opportunity to heal yourself. And again, in the final circles, you want to, if you can, you want to be getting yourself to full boost, so that you have that automatic healing that's going on all the time. And you'll also be able to move faster, so that way if you're getting yourself into gunfights or you're getting caught into the blue, you're going to be automatically healing up without having to apply bandages, without having to apply first aid kits. If you do find the big med pack, the one that looks like a suitcase. Use that when you're getting into the final circles to take you up to full health, but try and use it and get it out of the way, because it takes a long time to take effect, and you don't want to be mucking around with that in the final circles. You want to be letting your automatic healing, your energy drinks and your boosts, your energy drinks and your painkillers taking you up to that level. And remember, one energy drink, one painkiller takes you up to full boost, which will then enable you to run faster and heal faster that way. Now, as we're watching this, this is on the military island. As you can see, I've got a level 3 helmet, I've got a level 3 vest, I think, level 3 bag, I've got a suppressed M16, and I've got an AK, but I've only got one sight between them, which is a little bit difficult. And what you'll be seeing in this clip is I actually keep swapping as well the suppressor around and the sight around between the different weapons, because I happen to think that because of the distances I'm engaging people at on this game, the hollow is probably best on the AK, and the suppressor is best on the M16, because the M16 with its sight you can sort of use it at range. And what I'm trying to do here is there's a chap in the blue, and I'm just trying to slow him down, just peppering him with my suppressed M16 to maybe do him a little bit of damage so that he'll die to the blue, which he does do in a minute. And then again, this is a classic situation where the blue is closing in. You can kind of see what I do, you know, I look around using third person's perspective to peek out where people will be without giving away my position. I'm listening out. Now, something that may well happen in the final circles as well is the blue might completely envelop the safe area. And this happens on Vikendi at the moment more than other maps. So this is where you run out of time. You know, there is no white circle afterwards. It will go. This doesn't happen in this match, but it happens in the next one that you'll see. In that situation, what you want to try and do is engage and kill the other player before that happens, because it can be very random when that happens. You know, you might be caught behind a wall, they might be in the centre of the circle, they might be on top of a building, so you can't engage with each other, that sort of thing. So you want to try and avoid it. If it does happen, be prepared for that final gunfight when you're both running towards each other. So you want to have thrown your Molotovs, you want to have thrown your grenades, you want to get yourself to full health so that you can then engage the other person. And if you take damage, or if you take little damage from the blue, you can be able to kill them. Now, if you're in a situation, however, where you can't get at each other, say one person's on top of a building and you're underneath, or on Sandhawk, what happens quite a lot is one person will be on top of a cliff and you'll be down the bottom, so you can't shoot each other. What you need to do then is you then get into a health off situation, where whoever can heal faster will win. And so what you want to do in that situation is get yourself to full health, get yourself to full boost just as the timer runs out, get yourself to the middle of where you think the circle's going to close so it damages you the less, and then get ready to start using your med kit. So get ready to bandage up and use your health kit very, very fast. Sometimes you won't be able to apply a first aid kit completely before it kills you. So an advanced trick that you could try when you're in that situation is to take a little bit of damage first from the blue, so that you're not at 70% health, you're like 65. That way, when the final circle comes in, you can start applying a med kit, and it will come into effect before the blue kills you, and that will give you an advantage. Okay, so there we go. We've covered a lot of ground in this video. We talked about circle tactics right at the beginning and strategies, and then we've gone right through to end game final circle situations, and we're watching another one here. In essence, this is all about avoiding combat in the early game. For me, PUBG solo games, it's all about the numbers. There's so much randomness that occurs in a PlayerUnknown's Battleground match in terms of where you drop, where the circles go, what your opponents do, where supply crates go, all this sort of stuff, is that you can't win every single game. It's physically impossible. Even if you're the best player in the world, you won't win every single game. But if you can get yourself into the final 10 of as many games as you can, you will then give yourself the opportunity to be there when the circle is in your favour. And this way, all the way through these videos and lots of my videos on YouTube, you'll see me talking about getting into the top 10. Forget the early game, forget those random gunfights where the game could be lagging out and you're running around and all you can find is a shotgun. Play it safe, jump far from the flight path, get a car, loot up in safety so that when you get into the final 10, the game is running a lot smoother, especially on Xbox and PlayStation. There's a lot less lag, and you can work your way into the circle. You can go onto the quiet side. You can give yourself certain advantages, and by getting into that top 10 again and again and again, you will give yourself the opportunity to win. And remember, really good players will only win about 10% of their games. So that means that in order to win one game, you must have lost 9. Just think about it. So 9 games. How long does it take to play 9 games? What is it? The half an hour game? That's a lot of time you've got to play. You've got to lose in order to win one. And that's what PUBG is all about. So always try and keep in your mind the idea that you're just playing to get to the top 10, and that's good. And then from that point onwards, it's all gravy. Whatever happens, happens. Just remember those guidelines that we've talked about in this video. Playing the edge, looking at the flanks, gathering information, listening out for what the enemies are doing, listening out for the gunfire, watching the kill feed, who's killing who, moving into the circle from cover to cover, putting a little dot in the centre of the circle so you always know which direction you should go if you're getting a little bit confused. But play the edge and just look for those opportunities. If the enemies are shooting each other, that's telling you where they are. And if people are firing at each other, that then gives you an opportunity to perhaps move forward, maybe engage them if you think it's safe to do so. But remember, only go for shots if you think you can kill somebody. Don't just start taking pot shots, because as soon as you start shooting, you're giving away your position, and there'll be somebody who's camping behind that little rock around the corner will hear you start firing. You won't kill anybody, and they will pop out and they will kill you. Whew. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let the video run and just watch what I do in this video, watch how I play the circle, and if you think about any questions or comments you've got about PUBG, solos, or any of the other game modes, duos or squads, although I don't really do many videos about those on YouTube, put the questions in the comments box down below. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. If you want to support the channel, there's the Patreon link there as well. And hopefully this has been useful. I know I really enjoy PUBG, and the more you play, the more you enjoy it, because you learn something from this game every time you play it. Thank you very much, and yeah, I will see you again soon.